We are going to go over quite a bit for the American Marketing Association Marketing Management Exam prep in this video. We're going to cover planning, market research, marketing strategy, all sorts of stuff in between. So let's jump right in. First, we have marketing planning, uh, which is just what it talks about. Planning and strategy are different. Strategy's more big picture, planning's more technical or tactical. The marketing plan is the resulting document of marketing planning. So if you don't have a piece of paper that says this is my marketing plan, then I would argue you do not have a plan. Maybe you did planning, but if it didn't produce a document with clear steps for what you're to do and other people are to do, then it is an incomplete process. Okay, so big M marketing is the business strategy, small M marketing is operations. Okay, keys. Everyone owns the customer. That's really big. So it doesn't matter if you're in finance and you're behind the scenes or in HR, you still own the customer. And that's kind of a really important concept that a lot of organizations are adopting since the 1950s. And aligning all internal processes around the customer is the same kind of idea. Of course, leadership sets the tone. All right, here's a quick framework for making a marketing plan. We have quite a bit here. So you first need to have a business plan. So the business plan is going to have research and planning regarding the entire future path of the business. And the marketing plan is going to have more direction for how we're going to go to market, what our expectations are from a more uh, detailed description of the market, how we're penetrating or going into that market or taking parts of the market, et cetera, um, what our expectations are. And here's data to support why we believe this will happen. Helps everybody get aligned. SWOT analysis is just strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So you're now analyzing the business based on those macro factors, external and internal factors. Then you have market research, which is just what it sounds like. You're researching demographics, groups of people, etc., and um, different other factors. Then we have setting goals and objectives, which is just what it sounds like. Goals tend to be bigger, objectives tend to be smaller. These will fit into the mission and the vision from the marketing plan and the overall strategy for the business. And then back to developing the strategy, we're going to get really clear on our ICP. That's our ideal client profile or customer profile. We're going to go over things like pain points, pricing, promos, branding, etc. Uh, the You might have heard phrases like the pain is the pitch, and when you really understand an ICP and you're going to offer something or sell something or create marketing collateral that speaks to that person, they're the hero of the story. They have pain in their journey of self-actualization and accomplishing their desired outcome. And so you can hook in as a guide if you can speak the language of their pain and help carve out and show them a path for how they can advance in their journey. And that's how uh, you can map out your strategy, as you can map out that story through defining the ICP, their pain points, and then how the pricing and the promos, the branding, et cetera, can all make sense to really serve and add value to that ICP. All right. Other parts of the plan are going to be actions, budgets, metrics, etc. All of that's super important, and it's easy to skip any of those practical aspects of a marketing plan. It needs to be nimble. It needs to be something that you can pivot accordingly. You've got to be measuring so you can know that you need to pivot. And then, of course, contingency planning needs to be there. If you're like me, you might do too much contingency planning. Some people might not do enough. And so finding the right balance is good. I think you for me, as long as the big picture makes sense, I'm not too concerned about the contingency planning because I know we'll be able to pivot and be strategic as we learn more. And I think that's how a lot of businesses can be successful. And back to aligning with the business. So the strategic plan needs to align with the business. The SBUs need to all be aligned. So the strategic business units could be different departments or different companies within a portfolio of companies. They all need to be aligned with a shared vision from the chief or head SBU. And then the marketing strategic planning needs to align and fit within that business wide strategic planning. Uh, Additionally, portfolio analysis is just what it sounds like. And these are just different terms that were in the textbook. So that's cool. The BCG growth share matrix is super interesting. This is actually a really cool way to analyze, say, a product line or an SBU or series of SBUs. So you have stars, cash cows, dogs, and question marks. The idea here is you can identify, does this product line fit into cash cows maybe? Okay, we need to continue to nurture it. Or, however, is it a question mark where it has low market share and high growth? It's kind of risky. We don't know what to do. However, if it's a dog, we need to start divesting. We need to start recuperating and pulling back our investment, and we need to start recuperating any resources so we can deploy them in another direction while keeping our cash cows going. And then, hey, we want to add fuel to the stars. So the better you can identify that, that way you're not investing a ton into a dog and you're not ignoring your stars. Let the market drive what you offer is part of the principle behind that. The theory, I think, behind that too. Okay, another way to align your marketing plan with the business is the GE business screen. And this is something consultants will use back to the whole idea of investing, have selecting investment, or having divestment. So that's really the idea, similar to the growth matrix by the Boston Consulting Group. Similar to this, it's another way to figure out, hey, where do we put our resources and continue to see big in return, or where do we pull back so we can move our resources somewhere else? Next, we have mission statement, which articulates an organization's purpose, and then the vision is saying what the firm is capable of and where it wants to go. So I think those are pretty good definitions. I would just say a vision is describing, hey, we're going to climb that mountain. We're going to be at the top of the mountain. We're going to see down and look at the city in the valley next to the mountain. We're going to see the clouds, et cetera, et cetera. That's kind of the vision. You're painting that picture. Whereas the mission is why we're going to climb that mountain. We're going to climb that mountain so that X, Y, Z, et cetera. Okay, goals and objectives are going to fit within the mission and vision. They're going to be all those steps to accomplish it. I like to view objectives as smaller, goals as bigger, and then you get to the mission and vision. Yeah, objectives are more specific than goals. Then you have SMART objectives. It's a common term. You've probably heard SMART goals. It stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So it's just this idea of, hey, if you can't measure it, it's not a real goal or objective. Uh, if you don't say there's a specific time frame it needs to be done, it's not a real goal. It's basically fake. If it's not specific, if it's just, hey, I like the color red, that's just a statement. That's not an objective. What makes an objective an objective? It's time bound. It's measurable. You can see if it's done or not. It's something you can actually do, which is interesting. That makes it a SMART objective or a SMART goal. It's actually relevant to your vision and mission, and it's specific. So it's not something that can easily be misinterpreted. If I do something weird outside of the expectations, it would be caught, is what you want. So Moving on, strategy is your comprehensive plan to achieve the mission and objectives. Going back, we're going to get into generic strategy and competitive strategy. So the difference between strategy and plan, my definition is strategy is broader. It's got more zigs and zags, got more general direction or generic strategy. You're going to look at competitors, absolutely. So you're going to look at more of the market, the landscape, etc. when it comes to strategy. However, when you're going to plan, you're going to get more into your resource allocation and you're really going to break things down. Uh, so you're going to get much more specific. Things are going to get more time bound and more detailed. Expectations and assignments to different people on your team will get more clear, etc. Okay, generic strategy, competitive strategy seems pretty straightforward here. Core competencies, what the firm is good at, and then distinctive competencies, what the firm does better than competitors. So it's one thing to have core competencies. Hey, these are things we're good at. It's another thing to have distinctive competencies, meaning we're better than our competitors at this. Now, the thing that you'll be rewarded for in the marketplace is the distinctive competencies. So that's something to really be aware of from a strategic level. Hey, we're the best at X, and that can be a real great USP. It can be something that can really encourage and build up your team, and then you could continue to develop that if it makes sense. The goal for a lot of strategy is sustainable competitive advantage, where you've got a moat around your business and what you're doing, and people can't easily copy you. All right, here's some definitions of different business and business types. Prospector, analyzer, defender, and reactor. Businesses can shift between these depending on the headwinds they're facing, the tailwinds they have, changes in politics, technology, culture, etc. And they can businesses shift and grow based on who's in leadership in the business, what investors are doing, etc. Um, the first mover advantage is when a firm introduces a new offering to the market that changes the market landscape. Think about iPhone or many other products when they first came in the market, and it dramatically changed things. Situation analysis is just what it sounds like. It's easier to analyze the outside than the inside. But a lot of this chapter here is trying to, I believe this is all chapter three, it's trying to get a really clear picture of what is happening in the business and what is happening outside the business, which is one of the hardest things to do when you're leading something, is trying to get a really good grasp, a really objective picture of what's happening in the organization and external to the organization. And the better you can see, the better you can identify and prioritize challenges, and the better you can shape how you need things to be shaped. So here's some external factors. These are things outside of the organization. You've got things like politics, like laws changing. You've got technology changing, economic changes, things in the natural environment, etc. Forces driving competition. Think about all of these different forces here. Buyers are going to impact your competition. Suppliers are going to change how things affect how competitive you are in the marketplace. When it says competition, how competitive you are. Different substitute products or services, etc. And then you have internal factors like what are your systems, what's your culture, your leadership, how are your resources changing, what's your availability. Then you have once again SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And this is how you can drive strategy. What are we strong at? What are we weak at? And not only what do we believe we're strong at internally, but also what about the compared to the market? What opportunities do we have and what threats do we have? Do we have an opportunity in politics or in legality, or do we have any threats regarding technology or changes in society? All right, moving on to marketing planning. We got Igor Ansoff. I don't know how to say his name. He has the product market combinations matrix. So these are just different ways to try to view a business from a consulting lens and trying to understand the strategy and create and refine strategy. So there's four different ways here that when you're looking at taking a product to market, having a product at market, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to penetrate the market? Are you trying to develop an entirely new market? What are you really doing here? You're trying to diversify and withstand and withhold so that you can hold a position. What is your strategy? Okay, marketing controls are when you are essentially looking at metrics to make sure that your execution is going the way you want it to go, and then you can make adjustments accordingly. This is something that can really easily go off the rails. It doesn't matter if your strategy is great, but your marketing control and your marketing execution and planning is a failure. Your management of everything is a failure, then the entire strategy can just be thrown in the trash. You got to be able to deliver on it. Next, we have contingency planning. So, yeah, have strategies for how you'll handle marketing performance, good or bad. Okay, who should be involved? That's anyone who can contribute. So, what are things that you need to keep in mind? Be flexible, absolutely. You want to focus on inputs, back to the idea of marketing control. You want to sprint to getting to a place of marketing control where you can have input and then output and then measure the output based on the input and say, is this what we expected? And then make adjustments. So you want to have that idea of sprinting towards execution, but you also want to find yourself and your team basically to assess yourselves as people and say, are we more strategic leaning? Are we the kind of people that are going to sit back in an armchair and just talk for hours and not do anything? Or are we the kind of people that are just going to jump into action without really thinking and planning? So understanding that's important and then trying to find a 50-50 balance between the two as you're making your plan. You might find you need to pump the brakes a little bit and think more and document and plan more, or you might find we need to be more prone to act, and then we'll get data, and then we'll improve over time. So it's balance is so important, and you want this to be a revolving door. You want this to be an iterative process. You don't want it to be like one day I do marketing planning and strategy, and then I don't ever do it again for 3 years. I think that's terrible. The more we can review this, constantly work on this, constantly reflect on this, the better. And then you want everyone to fail, of course. All right. Market research is exactly what it sounds like. It's all about decision making. So the more you can learn, the better decisions you can make. Okay, the problem is difficulty knowing which data is important. That's absolutely true. You have things like an MIS, a market information system, where you're just continuing to collect data and you're delivering it to make decisions. Data security is really important. Marketing and IT need a strong relationship. You need marketing intelligence, which is similar to an MIS, except it's the actual collection and analyzation of the data. And the more you can know about a market and about people in general where you're targeting for your ICP, where you're going to market, the better decisions you can make and the better position you can be in because you can notice how the market's turning and changing and you can start adapting accordingly before your competitors. Okay, demographics are just what it sounds like. I mean, you're going to use it's different than just saying um, defining a person in a blanket type of statement, like in just maybe a story or something. It's having some sort of statistical characteristic that's important for defining and identifying markets. Um, so specifically demographics. A persona is a holistic profile of a customer. This is going to be more of a story. So A persona can touch on many demographics. For example, a white female in New York who lives on the second story of an apartment. She has two children, a dog. She is about 35 years old. She likes to do X, Y, and Z. These are her standard behaviors, A, B, and C. Here's her core motivators. Here's her political leanings. Here's her economic desires. Here's more info about her X, her Y, her Z, et cetera, et cetera. And you can continue to build out what are her motivators, what are her pain points in life, where she's trying to go in life, and you start to tell that story. That's the persona, and that's how you build out an ICP. Whereas demographics are more statistical and numbers driven. All right, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.